dive super deep into your story, which has a little twist and turn here and there.
Very gentle way of putting it, Jay.
Yeah, no. And we talked yesterday on the phone. Nothing is off base. He's going to talk about it all. And also what he's doing today. He's in a super good place today. It's a terrific comeback story. That's coming up later. First, you know the panel. I'm Jay, Adam the Bull over here. Mike Polk is in on his usual Tuesday, Thursday rotation, and G. Bush is here. Later in the show, these guys tip the scales. Not Mike, not Mo, not me. Adam the Bull and G. Bush are going to have a weight loss challenge. We're going to tell you how much they weigh now, how much they want to get to, and how they plan to do it. I will tell you that even after weigh-ins, my man was killing a bag of snack mix. Like just destroying that bag.
It was a medium-sized bag.
Get it out of the way.
It wasn't even a small one.
Mike Polk came in the studio and we were talking about weight loss, and he goes, I love how you guys are talking about how you're going to lose all this weight, and you're elbow deep in a bag.
You got to watch the carbs. You got to watch the carbs.
Yesterday for lunch.
All right. So that was to make sure that they loaded up on their weight.
You got to carb up.
Yeah, so now
that was your Fat Tuesday.
All right, we're going to start today's program with news of the NIL. Yesterday we told you that the principals were voting. The vote closed Sunday night. They had 2 weeks to vote. Today I can tell you that the NIL, which would allow high school athletes to monetize their name, image, and likeness, actually failed. And it didn't just fail by a slim margin, guys. It was soundly defeated. Here's the vote total. 538 voted against it. 254 voted for it. 26 principals did not submit votes. Ohio, guys, the first state that had a proposal on the table to reject it. There's 9 states currently that have it. There's another 11 outside of Ohio that currently have proposals, but Ohio's the first to shoot it down. I talked with a gentleman who's very much in the know as to why this failed. He worked for 2 years at University of North Carolina in their athletics department, ushering in the NIL era at the collegiate level. He believes this failed primarily because of the wording that we pointed out originally was odd. It was to go into effect today. And the schools were just like, we're not ready to deal with this today. All the schools had to name a compliance director, an NIL compliance director. He told me many schools in Ohio don't even have an athletic director. So how are you going to add an NIL compliance director when you don't have an athletic director? Quick thoughts around the table on this being rejected. Bull?
I think I understand that supposedly they had to have an NIL direct. What was the position called?
Compliance director, essentially. He would look at all the deals and make sure they were good.
The bottom line for me is, if kids have the ability to make money, they should have the ability to make money. And I don't even like that there has to be a compliance director. Nothing should stay. If I'm 17 years old and I'm good at football, basketball, golf, soccer, whatever, I'm an actor, I'm a brilliant computer guy, and I'm 17 or 16, I should be able to make money.
Even with the pitfalls, though, that we've seen at the NCAA
there are
level.
risks. Yes, I get it. But this is going to happen. And if they needed these things, well, they should have prepared for it earlier.
Yeah.
They screwed up, and now it's going to happen anyway, and they're going to be behind the 8 ball.
It will be challenged in court. It likely will lose. It's coming eventually.
That's right.
The people that I talked to said that it was shot down simply because of the language, and they're just not ready for this yet. They want to make sure that they have the infrastructure in place. Mike, what are your thoughts on it?
It seems intentionally foolish to put that language in there.
I
it
agree
almost seems
with
like
you.
somebody was trying to spike it or something like that.
I
you know?
asked,
Is that
do you
possible?
think the OHSAA sabotaged this by putting that in? And the answer I was given was no.
It's just ignorance on Ohio's part.
They just said it was ignorance.
That's
they just
amazing.
didn't know what this entailed.
I don't know. Was there anything different about the other states that actually passed other than that?
Some have wild west mentalities.
Right.
Others have infrastructure.
Like Wyoming or whatever. They're just like, yeah, whatever you want.
Yeah,
you can pay whatever you want.
Yeah,
you
Wyoming's
can
not gonna
sponsor
have
a goat.
Wait a second, Mike. Ignorance from an Ohio governing body? Who
I know.
can see that
I know. It is unbelievable.
Yeah.
No, it is. I don't think it's. I kind of agree with you. You quickly changed my mind right there because I thought it was kind of it's an awkward position to put a 15-year-old soccer player in to put that kind of pressure on him and say you have to represent my car dealership or something. But you're right. If they can make money, they can make money, and it's probably happening anyways through recruiting and underhanded. It's like gambling where people are doing it anyways, and bringing in recruits. I'll get your dad a job in this district over here if you come and play at my high school. So why not just make it legal?
Maurice, I'm fascinated to get your point of view on this because you were a guy that absolutely would have been able to monetize your name, image, and likeness. You were a superstar as a freshman in high school. You could have made money for 4 years. What are your thoughts on this?
No, it's kind of to build on what these guys said, but I think that you have to start it with the thought that you will improve upon it. Like, nobody's going to start anything and it's going to be perfectly suited and you're going to have the right checks and balances and the controls in place in order for it to be like the perfect thing. But you start it, you get going, and you learn from stuff. It's no different than everything else in life, but when you have these staunch positions and you have like these underhanded ways of people sticking language inside of things, knowing that they'll fail, you just kind of prolong the conversation.
Right.
And so for me, you get started somewhere knowing that, hey, some people will get hurt, some people will get taken advantage of, but if we take those things and we learn again, but I don't see how you're going to outfit every school with compliance directors by next month, next week, or
that's
4 weeks
not happening.
But that can become a convenient excuse as to why they keep on punting the ball.
Yes.
And like,
good way of putting it.
When you say, like when he said, like who needs a compliance director for everybody in the first place?
Many of these schools will never have to deal with this.
Some of these tiny little schools, none of their kids are making money anyway.
No.
So, what, you know.
And so you're going to force all these small schools in districts where they don't have the money to hire a person.
Right.
To have a compliance director, sign me up for that job. I mean, you go in 180 days, sit in your office, and you wait for a kid to walk in and say, hey, I got a deal.
But what I'm saying is there's people intelligent enough to know that that's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so then that prolongs it, and then nobody gets to where they have to go.
G. Bush, what do you think?
Well, this is obvious. I mean, Ohio's one of the most conservative states in the union, right? You know, they're not going to just jump out. I thought this was going to fail from the start, but the reality of it is, this only takes in part with high school kids playing sports, right? There's no child actor rules, right? There's no, if you come up tomorrow, and even other sports like golf, right? You can get money. Tennis, golf, all these sports where you can make money when you're 14. My premise is this: it's an undertone to it. You telling me that a 14-year-old a European female is able to handle money, but a 17-year-old inner city black kid, well, we got to protect you from your own self. What do you mean protect me from my own self? Listen, would you rather have money in your pocket and be able to do something to feed your family and not have to deal with stuff? Or would you rather be protected? We don't need protected. At the end of the day, you got to start the program somewhere. You build on it, as Maurice said, you build on it. And at the end of the day, that is what that's my God-given ability to do that. You don't get to decide what my God-given ability is to make and earn money in this world, whether you believe it's by my education later on or my athletic ability now.
Mike, what do you got?
Quick question. Are private schools exempt from this and charter schools or no?
All schools.
All schools?
Yeah,
this falls under all schools?
OHSAA member schools.
Okay. I was just curious. I just wondered if that was a way around it. You know how sometimes you have these athlete factory.
And this wasn't a pay-for-play thing. You would not have been able to, do a deal wearing a St. Ed's T-shirt.
Right.
That would have been out of bounds.
Yeah.
This was just your name, image, and likeness to monetize on that. And I think, Marie, it's coming. We all agree it's coming. It has to start somewhere. I think it was sabotaged from jump by the language that it would have gone into effect today. It would have been possible today for a high school student to walk into the principal's office today and say, hey, I've got an offer to make $5,000 from a local car dealership. And the school literally would have been looking around like,
yeah,
what do we do with this?
Compliance director.
Yeah, and Bush, G. Bush, to your point, the language is supposed to be well intended to make sure that the kids aren't being taken advantage of. Because as we all know, Maurice, you can speak to this, there would be victims. There would be high school kids that were taken advantage of because the system is built that way.
But you have adults who are being taken advantage of. There's many other professions and many careers of people who are getting taken advantage of in a lot of different ways. I guess what I'm saying, like when you were, I lost the point where you were talking about something, but the fact is that you have to start somewhere. And I'll leave right there because I don't want to mumble on. You have to start somewhere. You have to build onto something.
So put it in and make it good as you go on.
And what I would say is if this is really about protecting, if they don't want to do this now because they're protecting the kids because they're afraid they're going to get ripped off, well, if that's really true, then pass it. And how about the OHSAA hires a dozen guys who are lawyers to work and say, hey, whenever a kid gets a deal, You're going to look it over. We're going to pay the guy whatever, a reasonable fee.
I don't
not
think they're in a position to
not
add
a percentage, not a percentage. And that's going to, and all that guy is going to say, he's not going to tell you whether it's, he's going to say, this is you're not getting ripped off here.
Yeah.
And just
Let's
throw,
do
and just
that.
throw this out really quickly. If it's about protecting people,
Yeah.
you know how many rich, educated doctors, lawyers, financial advisors got ripped off by Bernie Madoff?
Sure.
Good point.
Yeah, there's no like Maurice said, there are adults that need counseling.
I don't think it's a
certainly kids
bad
that
idea,
need it.
G, to have someone that you could trust give advice.
Yes.
But not at the detriment of them not being able to make
Make
money.
money.
And we
Right?
are assuming
That's a great way to articulate it.
we are assuming that hey, I got a mom and a dad.
Yeah.
They've been married for 40 years.
Right.
They both college educated.
Yes.
I don't need no advisor. You're assuming that certain people don't have that
That's
infrastructure
the
right
assumption.
now.
Yes,
That's the assumption.
there is racism, I believe, baked into that assumption. I agree with you. There are kids, white and black, who need